Welcome to the BuildSkills platform, a platform for assessing and improving your VET courses for the construction sector. Using the platform, you can start a self-assessment for an existing or a new course to identify skills gaps and receive suggestions to enhance your course's content. You also have access to a list of useful material that includes a Skills Explorer that provides access to green and digital skills relevant to the construction domain, pages with relevant projects, and other useful material. If you want to start a self-assessment, you first need to sign in to the platform. You can do this by either clicking on Sign In on the top right or by clicking on Start and then Start New. You will be redirected to the authentication page. You have two options. You can either sign in using your LinkedIn account or your Google account. After selecting the account and providing the details, you will be redirected to the platform and you are now logged in. You may now start a new assessment. You are then presented with a form wizard that contains 3 sections: background information, quality assurance, and target occupation. You have to fill in all mandatory questions in order to complete the self-assessment and receive a PDF file with suggestions. First, you provide some background information concerning your course. Some of this information is used to provide personalized suggestions in the report that will be created after submitting the self-assessment. For the course, you have to identify the EQF level. If you want to find out more information about the EQF levels, you can click on this link here and you get access to the descriptions of the 8 EQF levels. This accepts multiple values. What are the minimum qualifications for a student to enter the program or attend the course? If employment is one of the criteria for a student to attend the course, select the appropriate status. This is not applicable in our case. What is the duration of the course? You can provide the information in hours, days, or months. Which of the following teaching methods are used in the course? This is again a mandatory question, and you must select at least one option. What materials and resources are used? You can select multiple values. How are students assessed in this course? After completing all mandatory questions in the background information section, you may move on to the next section that concerns the quality assurance. This section includes questions that target the VET administrators. If you believe they are not relevant to you, you may move on to the next section. All these questions are selected by default as not applicable. If some are applicable to your case, you will receive suggestions after submitting the assessment. Let's respond to some of the questions. You may move on to the next section. In this section, you must select the occupation you are targeting with your course. This is the list with the supported occupations. In this example, we will select environmental engineers. Then, based on the occupation, you have to select at least one of the 5 supported topical areas: design and engineering, energy efficiency, circular waste management, new building materials, and environment, health, and safety. Let's select environment, health, and safety. However, we could have selected multiple topical areas. For each topical area you selected, you must select the relevant subareas. Here are the subareas relevant to environment, health, and safety. Let's select digital tools and data analysis, as well as collaboration and project management. You must also provide the skills you plan to cover for your course under the selected topical area. The skills categories are digital, green, and both green and digital. The skills you see in this list are the ones relevant to your target occupation under the selected topical area. Let us search the list for the skills we plan to cover in our course. At this point, you have finished filling the questionnaire and may now submit it in order to download your PDF report file. Click Submit to continue. Click Download and open your PDF report file. This PDF report is automatically generated based on your inputs and provides suggestions to improve your course. The cover page contains the name of your course, your username, and the submission date. In the section Background Information, you can find all the information you provided for each question. Under your answers, you may find suggested actions based on your inputs. For example, in our case, the system suggests adding a few extra teaching methods based on the EQF level we provided, which was quite high. Moving on to the Quality Assurance section, it includes information based on the BuildSkills process and approach, incorporating a set of quality criteria and suggested actions that might be needed to enrich your course. For not applicable questions, no suggested actions or resources are provided. For the rest of the questions, you may find a set of suggested actions and resources under your answer. For example, for the question, do you have in place a skills development training for teachers and trainers? The system suggests to organize training programs and learning outcomes for teachers and trainers, as well as a few resources, aiming to help you achieve the goal of the question, or at least improve on it. You may also see the relevant EQAVET indicator. If you would like to know more about EQAVET indicators, you can click on the link in the introduction of the section. Let's move on to the next section, Skills Gap Analysis. In this section, you can see which skills are left uncovered by your course for the occupation you are targeting with this assessment. You may also receive a warning if the EQF level you provided is lower than the one the system suggests. In the green section of the table below, you can see which skills your course is covering, while in the orange section you can find the list of skills that are required for this occupation under this topical area, however were left uncovered. You may click on the arrow next to a skills name to read more about it on the ESCO classification webpage. Let's move on to the next section named Suggested Resources. In this section, you may find recommended resources based on the subareas you provided for each topical area. The suggested resources aim to improve the content of your course. It might be the case that we don't have any resources for some of the subareas you provided. The last section of the report is called Occupation Recommendations. In this section, you can find additional occupations to be considered as potential targets for the assessed course. This is based on the skills you provided for each topical area. For each suggested occupation, you are only required to incorporate at most 3 additional skills, besides the ones you already cover, and the EQF level is equal or greater to your courses. Now let's go back to the BuildSkills platform and go through the useful material pages. The first one is the Skills Explorer. On this page, you can search for skills relevant to the construction domain and read more about them. You have the ability to filter them by digital, green, or both knowledge or skill and whether or not they are new. New means it's not part of the current ESCO classification, but it has been identified as a new emerging skill. Click on a skill's name to read the full information about it. The second useful material page is Relevant Projects. Click on a relevant project to read a short description about it and get the link to its homepage. By checking the outputs of a project and the work that is taking place, you will be able to improve the contents of your course if needed. Another useful material page is Other Useful Material. On this page, you will find resources that are considered relevant to BuildSkills. The presentation is similar to that of Relevant Projects. Last but not least, the glossary page. It contains a set of terms that are used on the platform. It is recommended that you take a look at this page before starting the self-assessment. Lastly, by clicking on My Assessments on the top right, you get access to your past assessments. You may re-download the assessments or use them to pre-fill a new form and start another assessment. This helps you reuse the information you provided on a past assessment for a different target occupation. You can skip directly to the last section of the form. You can select a new target occupation and fill the information regarding the topical areas, the subareas, and the skills. You also have the option of saving a submission as a draft. This way you can return to the platform later and finish your assessment. Click here to edit and finalize your draft assessment.